All right, I started the recording not to stop conversation, but just so I don't forget. Through link to the note stock in the chat in case anybody wants to sign in or add anything to the agenda. All right, well, I suppose we can go ahead and kick things off. Let's see here. I don't see any new faces. I don't think we have any introductions to do, but other than that, jump into project updates. Looks like Matthias, you had an item on there for roadmap milestones.
Yes. I thought I brought the topic up. We talked about this before, but I think it would be valuable to set up some or just the next milestone. Like what is our aim to get in there? It's also helpful to track the differences between the Go witness library and the witness CLI. Because for example, the change that I recently did for deer hash, it has a PR that is also associated on the witness side, on the CLI side. But how do we track the things that have to go in there at the moment that we release? Because only at that moment the PR will go green. So it should be that could be a way to get them together and in line. So that's the suggestion.
Yes, we should do that. I don't know if I have any good ideas for how to track things across the repo, like the specific concern you mentioned, other than shortening the window of time as much as possible, doing more frequent releases. Mikhail, I don't know if you have any thoughts on that. I do know the one thing that came up recently was one of the PRs with the policy stuff that had to be reverted. And then I think that was reverted and Tom was on vacation and then he came back. And then I think he might even have an open PR to try and fix things again. But then I was out for last week. And so we've had a little bit of chaos. Anyways, I'll stop talking now if Mikhail wanted to add anything.
Yeah, nothing. Like you said, I think quicker releases, whether they're release candidates or full-on releases, is probably one of the easiest things we could do to make sure like we're keeping the two repos in sync. As far as like those reversions, in that case, it kind of almost benefited that we hadn't had a release of the Witness CLI. Although, I mean, that doesn't guarantee that anyone that was consuming the library wasn't affected by those bugs. But we were at least saved by the fact that we didn't make a version of Witness with some pretty critical policy bugs in it. But that was more of like a coincidental than an intentional thing. But yeah, I don't have any strong thoughts or ways we can make sure that we're syncing those, other than when we make the features that we make sure we are testing it, and then with CLI with the equivalent PR and the CLI.
Yeah, I'm wondering if it might be possible to say the main branch on witness follows the tip of the master of Go Witness in the mods. I'm not fully aware if that's possible. And then at the moment that you do a release, you pin it to the specific release that is also released on the library. Because we basically assume that they're always in sync. And if they're not, then so if we do a release, we pin it to the specific library release that we have.
I'm not sure if it is possible to have it be always locked on the latest head of main. I think when you do a Go mod update, it will take the current hash that's there and store that in the checks the Go sum file, and then that's kind of what you're locked on until you do another, go get.
Yeah. Yeah, I might need to play around with that to see what's possible. But
The way I typically develop locally is I have a Go workspace file that uses both. So I'm always working with my local copies. So it doesn't help someone that just clones down Witness and is expecting to find something that is in Go Witness.
yeah, I use the workspace too, and that actually works pretty well if I do it locally. Maybe it's an interesting approach for feature branches in Go Witness in the Witness pipeline to use the tip of master through a workspace. I'm just thinking out loud here. I don't know what kind of approaches there are, but that could be an option. Like if it's a feature branch, we check out the main branch from Go Witness and use a workspace to see if it actually works with the PR.
Yeah, it's probably a good first step whenever someone writes a feature for sure.
Yeah, I can create it just an issue for it, so we can come up with ideas, and then we'll figure something out on the long run. Technically, the organizational parts, it could still be just a milestone, so we know, and we can add something to a specific milestone and say, hey, this is going to go into a next release if we are planning on it.
Arrow, I see you have your hand raised.
You're muted.
Sorry. I'm feeling that I'm seeing the same problem that I saw 3 years ago, and Python Tough with secure system lib, everything. First, I will be honest, even as a maintainer, when I see the versions 0 something, I feel that, okay, this is in still development process. It's that we don't have a really strict release process so far, because it's still like we are in experimental development speed. So I think we should, in that issue that you want to propose, Matthias, I think we should discuss the governance there, have a very clear release process in the way that the maintainers can release it. And if you say that the projects, all the 3 projects, I would say, they are already, we feel that they are mature enough to see we should have a 1.0 release. We should have also a development branch. Or we should map what are features that we want for 1.0. because I still feel that we are in the fast speed here to develop, but we should do one step back to really define it clear as a governance of the product to have it, because we had a lot of the problems like that in the tough as well. Yeah, Cole.
Yeah, I'm wondering if it would make sense to have like a contrib repository for the testers. I mean, we'd have to figure out the build chain and everything like that, but I mean that stuff can be figured out. Because we might want to give a way for our users to be able to move quickly and add things to a repository that's not part of the release, right? But then give them a way to build that. I know Caddy does a really good job of this, where you can compile it with like custom plugins and stuff like that. So we could possibly take some inspiration from that project, right? Especially since both Witness and Archivista are both very plugin based. It could bode well to that. I wonder if anyone's got any thoughts on that, or if anybody's worked with that Caddy plugin system before.
John?
Yeah, I don't have any thoughts on that part in particular. I know, Cairo, you have for RS stuff, I think you have more regular maintainer syncs. I wonder if that's something that we could do. We try to have as many conversations as we can in the the CNCF Slack channel, but I think we could do more of that. For me personally, I'm terrible at organizing things on GitHub issues and other stuff like that. But if we have a 30-minute, even like a 15-minute call once a week or something like that, just to be a forcing function for me to like get on a call and literally type out GitHub issues. It will help keep me honest, but also open up the conversation to the community as well for what's going on. I don't know if,
Yeah, I think in the stage that we are now, it's really good to have, to be honest, because we face it with tough. It made really good progress in our maintainers organization, and it helps us a lot with our stuff. Cadence, you see that we have, it's not that we have regular release, but everybody that is maintaining know what it's going on, and we do the decision together. And really, it's not really time consuming. It's 10 minutes, 15 minutes a week or every 2 weeks. It worked very well. Even for what Matthias proposed, that it's the roadmap, we need to have it, because if you just drop the roadmap project in GitHub, we will just discuss it in the community meeting here, and we will postpone most of the things for the next one, and it doesn't move well. If I have bandwidth, I can step on this organization, John, as well, based on my past experience with the other open source projects as well.
I'm more than happy to let you take an action item to set up a call for that. Yeah, so I think that would be good. And then immediate, like short term, I think we need to just go through the PRs. And Tom, I don't know if you're back or not, but I don't know if you had a different update to the policy stuff that a PR open right now that we need to merge before cutting a release. Matthias?
Yeah, I was making notes. I just want to make sure that I'm not saying anything that's incorrect there. So I brought up the options for milestones, and then Cairo shared about the importance of starting to set up governance for Witness, right? But also questioning if we are at the phase yet where we are going to look towards a 1.0 release, or if we are still in the fast pace, moving in the 0.x. Correct?
Yeah, we can discuss it within this
Yeah.
cadence meeting. I think it would be
Okay.
good.
And
Then we bring it define it to the community meeting. So
and
Okay.
Cole, the thing that I picked up from what you were suggesting is I think pointing back to an earlier discussion that we had about plugins. Or is it something else that you are referring to, like splitting up the development for attesters into plugins and allowing the witness project to be more self-contained apart from the attesters itself?
He might have stepped away, but in previous conversations we've had about that, I think we'll always have some attesters that live in the core library, but there might be cases where we want people to be able to contribute or stuff that may not be mainlined or be able to build in a different build chain process. But
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that's where his train of thought was going there.
Yeah. No problem, Cole.
Yeah, we did something similar with signers in consistent lead. I think there is a way to us to enable the developers to do it in even the current main, but when we set the library, we don't automatically load it. So if it's experimental or third part that it's not available for someone, we can tag it, and we could use tag to let it be compiled or not. Because when one attesters get some maturity, we can just say, okay, let's remove and make this tag available in the consensus here in the community. I think that we can discuss this in those meetings as well for my time. There are many ways that we could achieve that. Yeah. Thank you, Cole, for the suggestion.
Yeah. John, you were asking Tom something, and then I stepped in. Sorry for that.
Yeah, I'm here and about to get to my desk. Regarding the policy stuff, do you mean the policy verification changes? There's a PR out there that Mikhail reported some issues with that still hasn't been merged.
Yeah, so I think that might be, I'm assuming we should get that in before a release, but that might be the only pending thing that would be blocking a release right now. Does that sound right?
Yeah, I think the policy verification tests that we're going to fix the bug as well, so we'll want to get that in prior to release.
Yeah, I tried to stress this on the PR, but there's a real need for some extra tests. So my aim was to make sure that the edge case that exists currently was gone. I need to double check that I did go ahead and fix that, and then hopefully add some more tests with it before those changes are merged. But yeah, if by all means, if it's holding up a release, then it's a matter of time. I can try and prioritize it on Monday. But if it's holding back a release, then we're better to keep the verification flow reliable and take our time with it, as I have discussed with Mikhail previously. I think he was alluding to earlier in the call.
Yeah, I think that sounds good. And part of some of the changes Mikhail had worked on was bringing some of the testing from Witness into the Go Witness repo. And so this is actually a little kind of the opposite approach, Matthias, of some of the stuff you're talking about, of like, rather than how we get the latest version of Go Witness into the Witness repo, making sure that we test Go Witness sufficiently with Witness before having a release of Go Witness. So when it does get picked up, we don't, because that was, I think, the only way we found the issue in the Go Witness library was once we started using it in Witness. So I think a combination of testing and other things will help solve that, though.
Yeah, at the time there were some tests that specifically I would argue are more unit tests on Go Witness, using the Go Witness library in the main Witness repository, and they should probably had resided over in Go Witness. And I think there's still some examples of that we should probably shift some stuff with.
Sounds good.
Anything else on this topic or on the witness side folks want to chat about? Just
Can
wanna
I
be
bring up?
mind-
Can I bring up the PR that I shared today?
Yeah.
Let me see. Need to pick this from GitHub. Now, share it in the chat. So I created a PR to basically obfuscate certain well-known environment variables. I was testing out the witness on my GitLab CI pipeline, which contains some variables to communicate with external services, and they were clearly shown in our attestation output. So I thought, okay, I think that needs some addressing. And what I did in this PR is basically allowing the functionality to start implementing flags on the CLI side, but by default there are certain variables that are already obfuscated based on globbing. So it uses a star underscore token or a few others that actually capture a lot of stuff that is already assumed to be secret. I also included secret underscore star in there, like if you prefix all the variables that you deem to be secret, and it can automatically obfuscate it. So basically it replaces it by 6 stars just to make sure that the value is not there, but it captures a lot of known stuff. There is some testing in there, but as we were discussing testing just now, I think there's one more test that I need to implement to make it solid, which is using the options approach to add in more flags, and that's the basic idea to improve environment variables. Cool.
Hey, I've been thinking about this for a while, and really thank you for the PR. The only other thing that I thought about with this was, do you think it would be helpful to have a hash of the secret, or should we just leave it stars? Like, is there any value of actually having an identity to, like, hey, what the secret actually is?
I think if it's secret, I don't really need to know what the original secret was. Because if it, yeah, I don't think so, but there might be different opinions.
Yeah, I can't think of any like specific use case we've had where somebody's like, okay, what secret is this, right? So it might be just a case of me over engineering things in my head.
I would agree with Matthias, at least for now. I think it's like one of those things where we can do it without giving away any information, and if people start giving us really clear use cases as to why they need to provide further information about why that secret's obfuscated, then we address from there.
I guess it's not that hard just to have another flag hash secret, right? But that's probably not the default behavior most people are expecting. But yeah, I think this is a good PR, Matthias. Thank you so much. Yeah,
this is something that has been one of those things in the back of my mind that we probably should do or I should look into and haven't found the time. So yeah, like massive props for getting this out there.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I added myself as a reviewer. I will review it soon. And yeah, I have some suggestions, but we discuss it in the review.
Yeah.
great job. Yeah.
Think back to you, John.
All right. And I'll pass it to Cairo for Archivista updates.
Okay. Yeah, I think I have a lot of updates here. I'll share my screen because I think it's easier to go through everything that I need to discuss here. Can you see my screen? GitHub. Yeah. All right. Well, I did a couple of releases in the past week. One is with the DC signature key ID a bug that the SigStar doesn't require the key ID; it's optional. So we fixed it in the database. But I was a little bit holding that. So then I did a release candidate. But after I did some tests and a user also did some tests, I released the version. And if you see, I have a major release here is 6 because we are introducing a feature that I want to discuss here. This is something that we want to discuss in our this work about the release management because we want to check how we will bump versions when we have a new feature and how we handle like backward compatibility and so on. But okay, yeah, what's this external message? We have Archivista only as a storage, right? But we don't want, excuse me, we don't want Archivista to process, do computation on attestations or policies. But there is something interesting that Archivista could do for us is the ability to notify us, for example, when a new attestation on a policy it's in. So we could communicate with different message queues like RabbitMQ, SQS, or others. I think
Cole is
is-
not muted, but he's giving some feedback.
okay. All right. Yeah. So in that PR, we added we call it external message, but officially in Archivista it's a publisher. So it means that you can enable it. It's disabled by default. You can enable Archivista to send external message like publishing external message. For initial version, we created 2 different external messages in that feature that it's a Dapper. So Dapper accepts different. We can do different ways of communication, gRPC, HTTP requests, but we are doing the initial implementation is HTTP. If someone requires another one, it's go there and just implement an extension for that. And we also added something related with TUF, that is our stuff, that I will do a really quick demo related to that as well. So Dapper can use different message queue. That's why you choose Dapper, because you could use Dapper with SQLs, RabbitMQ, and Redis or Volkey, I guess. I'm really not expert in Dapper. Tons, if you want to say some words, let me know, because I know that you are more engaged in Dapper than me. You want to say something, or?
No, the only thing is the only thought I had when reviewing this, I think I left a comment and some others. Yeah, sorry, I spoke about this with some others, but the Dapper publisher, of course, it like under the hood, it's all using HTTP requests. It might be worth just keeping like a Dapper publisher as well to save to make it more easily configurable. But like we could make like a generic HTTP publisher as well, so that people can have the flexibility of publishing wherever they want. But yeah, like I mean, the beauty of the PR, I suppose, is that you don't need to know much about how Dapper works in order to leverage it. That's assuming that you don't run into Dapper related
Yeah.
problems, but Dapper specific related problems. But yeah,
Exactly. So using those features, I will just walk through here. Basically, in Archivista now, we have the Archivista environment variable publisher that actually you can use multiple. It's not that you need to use Dapper or our stuff. You can use multiples. So it means that you can send a message to multiple ones. And for each publisher, you have a set of configuration. Like Dapper, we have those environment variables, other stuff we have initially just one, and we can extend it. So by default, this is disabled. So everyone that wants to use that needs to configure that, and they will have this benefit. This is nice because if you want to use Archivista and understand and do something after you have an attestation on the policy stored there, you can configure to receive a message or even integrate with our stuff. So the integration with our stuff, the idea is to create a secure distribution of attestations and policy. So it enables you in a simple way just to have Archivista working together with our stuff in the sense that every time that an attestation or policy is published there, it will hand it to the our stuff. So our stuff will use that in the metadata. I did a demo of this in the Open Source Summit as well, and I want to share with you here more about that. Basically, repeating this demo. But before that, I want to say how you can integrate our stuff and Archivista. It's basically you can deploy both together. As Archivista, we have a Helm chart, and our stuff also we have a Helm chart. And I have another topic to discuss about the Helm charts for Archivista right after this. This is an example how simple I did it. Of course, I'm using here the local stack for some AWS simulations, like a TMS that I use in our stuff. But basically, Archivista, here I did the configuration saying that I want that Archivista use the our stuff publisher, and I gave the address of our stuff. So that's the only configuration that I did here. And of course, what you see the rest here are actually the API and the worker are the components from our stuff for deployment. And of course, PostgreSQL I deployed together here to be used by Archivista, is used by our stuff as well. So, and local stack I'm using for S3 buckets for our stuff, and also for Archivista. So later, my idea is to create a kind of example or tutorial or how to for people that want to deploy them together here. So the big benefit of having Archivista together with our stuff is, for example, you can make sure that when you store policies, you can create a kind of approval flow for that. It means then you can use, for example, the signatures to do that, and that's what I would demo here. So if you see here, I just deployed both together here. I used the Helm chart, was simple to deploy, so I have all the environment together using Archivista and our stuff. If you see the charts that I create here to combine both, for who is familiar with Helm charts, I just have locally, I have the Archivista Helm chart. I want to discuss about that to be able to have a repository and use it easily. So you don't need to grab things locally, but this is the next topic. So, and our stuff, I have the repositories, all the other components. So this is simple, my Helm configuration for deploying all together. And those are the values that are, if you see, are quite simple as well. So after I deploy that, I will not run a live demo. I'm quite tired for that. I have things recorded from Open Source Summit, So of course, I will not go through everything here. Oops. So basically, let me. Okay. So what I did in the demo at Open Source Summit, of course, people didn't know about in total Archivista. I will skip this part. I explained a lot what is the idea of the Archivista and how integrate the witness with Archivista to download attestations and policies for verification. And this is the part where I explain them that how the flow works. So basically, every time that you store an attestation or policy in Archivista, it will automatically store in our stuff. And later, when you use witness, you'll be able. This is a work in progress right now. You'll be able to use the root tough metadata to build the trust when you want to verify a policy and attestation. Basically, to use the tough to download from Archivista the attestation. So it built this security around that. I'll give here the quick demo that I gave at Open Source Summit. So our stuff now allows you to create custom delegations and use offline keys for signatures. So basically here what I create one, I didn't split things in policies and attestation to not confuse the audience there, but you could create specific delegations for attestation and policies, or even tenants. We can discuss it offline or asynchronously. So, but basically, I create one delegated role, and what I'm doing here, I'm adding keys. Or if I don't want to add keys, I can say I want our stuff to sign. It means that our stuff will use its KMS key to sign other attestations, because I trust in my deployment environment. So I don't want people to do the review and sign. But here in that case, I'm using SigStore even because our stuff supports SigStore. I create a delegation role for Archivista, and I using 2 different accounts here and say that I need at least 2 signatures for that. So what I can do is when you see here the delegation, I have 2 keys that using Future to sign. And when I do my process that here, this audience is familiar, I'm generating my attestation using KMS key as well. And when I sign my policy, of course, I gave an overview also for the audience there, what is a policy, but here I will not go this. So I explain them how the policy works. When you use your CI/CD can store the attestations and policy there, you see that you don't need to do extra calls to our stuff to say, look, here's a new attestation, new artifact that's attestation of policy. It is done automatically do the integration that I shared before. And the nice thing is that people can go there and now review this attestation. Of course, my CLI view here just show hashes, but imagine that how a nice thing you can build. You can render this attestation, render this policy, and let people that doing the process to review it before signing. And after that, you can go and use SigStore to sign this. And only when we have enough signatures for people that you put in the list, you'll be able to retrieve it from the witness. So it can create a kind of review process or a trusted process between. That was the demo that I did there, of course, with more details for them. Questions? That's that part. Yeah, Matthias.
In the signing that you did here, were you signing an attestation or were you signing the policy?
I'm signing the tough metadata that contains the policy information.
Right.
The nice thing, you don't need to store attestations and policy in our stuff as well. You just require the information from this, like the hash, the size that will be used by
So
our stuff.
with the publisher, you are registering every attestation and policy that is being added to Archivista
in our stuff.
in our stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
My
for certain
Yeah, go ahead,
things,
sorry.
like all the attestations, you don't need to basically double sign every attestation that comes in. But in this case, signing the policy through our stuff with additional keys is very valuable, because you want to have a manual approval step that this policy is actually accepted.
Yes, and there is another reason that you can put on top of that is that, okay, we use keys to sign attestations and policies, right? You saw that I did it in a certain moment here when I was generating in that moment here. I am using a witness KMS key. However, if you just use this as your trust between, let's say that you want to rotate these keys, it means that you need to resign all attestations, all the policies that you have done in the past, right? So maybe you don't want to do this for verification, for example, but once you rotate only the keys that are on in the tough metadata, you are securing the witness to not retrieve this attestation with all the keys, and you can use old signatures to validate it still, because you don't want to revoke this, because if you revoke this and you have 1 million attestations, and you need to resign everything, right?
Right. Cool.
Yeah, I just was going to add, for in my mind, thinking about this double signing, is one signature represents the origin of the policy or the attestation, and the second establishes trust in that. And so one is more about the authenticity, and then the second is whether or not, as an organization, an individual, you want to have trust in that that identity and the content.
Yeah, let's say that someone left your organization, Matthias, and you don't want to resign your 1 million of attestation. You just want to revoke them in the tough metadata, right? And what you saw here as a delegated role, it can be more granular. It can be across projects. So you could have like different storage for policies and attestations. These are other things that I want to discuss more about to enhance this feature. That's the ability that to say in Archivista that, for example, I want policies in a different bucket, because I want just to control signatures of policy. I don't care about securing the attestations, because controlling policies is enough for me. So, but those are enhancements that we can discuss as a group here. Questions? Maybe another topic that you saw here that I was using the charts, but for Archivista itself, I need to clone the repository and use locally the charts. Would be good if our users could just use this from the repository. I tried to do this, but it's not working in our current repository. I think we need to create in total a specific Archivista charts repository, or we can discuss with in total to just have Helm charts repository for the in total organizations and everybody that has containers. But for now, we just have, I did an investigation. We have just Archivista as a container image. So we could put Archivista there. So in the future, if you have other sub-products that will have containers, we can use the same infrastructure to handle charts. Maybe John, as you are a member, what's the name, IPC or something, ITCS, bring this to them.
Yeah, the ITSC. I'm not a member, but I will.
Okay. Yeah, I would love to have because, for example, this tutorial all the time creating how to integrate our stuff in Archivista. People don't need to clone things; they just need to follow commands that they will play with Archivista deployed easily. I think those are all the topics that I had for today. Yeah, those are all that I have. Thank you, everyone. Sure.
Okay. So on the policy working group, right now we're mostly trying to be heads down, focused on doing some actual work. We kind of have the scope of the conversations and the requirements laid out. There's a couple of documents for those. I'll link into the notes when I find them. We're going to change the meeting cadence a little bit. We're going to meet every other week, but one will be a North America time zone meeting, and the other will be Australia, like evening US time conversation. Yesterday, we had a talk with Banaz. She works at Oracle and is a creator, maintainer of a project called Macaroon. And they've done a bunch of policy work with in toto attestations and other things. But they are doing the policy itself in Datalog, which is really quite interesting. They I see James support for that. One of the really cool things we talked about yesterday is with Datalog, oftentimes the evaluations you're doing are more like queries against the database. And so they have it's kind of a pre-processing step where they create what they call facts, Datalog facts about the attestations themselves. So rather than having the policy checks doing all of the analysis to generate the facts, they'll do that as a separate part. So the example of this may be looking at attestation that has Git information and ensuring all of the appropriate fields in it that should reference all of the same Git repository are actually consistent, or that the Git commit hash, this reference to the attestation, actually exists in github.com, like doing those sorts of checks. And then they create this database of facts. Then you can just write the policy that has a very simple check to say, check that this Git attestation is consistent, or something probably more descriptive than that. But so I'm going to take some of the ideas that we had of the example policy from Witness and try and map it to those ideas and see kind of where we get and how well it works. And then there's a whole separate conversation about what to actually do with all of the code, because Macaroon is a project in Oracle's GitHub repository and all the in-toto stuff, and it's in CNCF, but we'll figure that out. Yeah, so that's kind of the current state of the policy stuff. This is like a random thought I had after that conversation, was it would be interesting to consider storing the Datalog facts in Archivista, and potentially even being able to use the new messaging stuff as attestations come in to create those. They could be triggers for generating those Datalog facts. The one thing we had a conversation about with that as well is a need to establish trust in those facts, because they're essentially derivations of the original attestation itself. And so splitting this into a two-step process offers that opportunity for injecting some untrusted fact in between generating the fact and then evaluating the policy itself. So, but those are just, they're just details. So, but really, really cool stuff. I was very happy to, they had also done the folks at Oracle done evaluations with things like Rego and Q and many other policy languages, and they could only really accomplish what they wanted to do with Prolog in the end. So yeah, so that is, I think, pretty much everything there.
Isn't Rego based on Prolog? I think it's got like a lot of the same features.
It's a data log variant, yeah.
Yeah.
There are quite a few out there, but I'm surprised that they couldn't accomplish it with the Rego.
Yeah.
Like the language itself is a full data log with a whole bunch of other useful things.
Yeah, I mean, Rego is very expressive. I mean, that's strong and weak point, right?
Yeah.
Interesting. I might have to
But-
look at that meeting.
Well, it could be the back end, so which I totally understand in that what you're querying is the Rego database, which is basically just documents of JSON documents.
Yeah.
And maybe that's the issue they're having. I don't know. If they want a fact store, maybe that's a bit a tuple store is easier to query. Perhaps maybe that's the issue. I don't know.
We'll see. We got lots of ideas here in the open source communities, right? It's fun to see different approaches to everything.
Yeah, generating the fact store they had written in Python, which was part of the reason. So you can write, and well, from Python, you can also call out to different things. Like they actually use the salsa verifier is one of the things that they can call out to analyze the VSA and generate a fact from that. But then they store those facts in essentially a database and then query them directly with Datalog afterwards. So I think just that combination of programming languages they were familiar with and capabilities to be able to program different things. So all right, we've got 7 minutes left. I think we probably can defer the current issues PR review to the maintainer meeting that Cairo is going to set up. And we chatted already about the one. I don't know if anybody has any other outstanding PRs or issues they wanted to chat about.
I just wanted to thank everyone for their contributions. It's really amazing to see this community start to take shape. Really love the contributions you made, Matthias. So just want to say thanks again to everyone that's participating in this community. Pretty cool.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining and listening and engaging. And we will catch you all in a couple of weeks.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.